All right, I'm here today with my good friend Robin Arter, and Robin is the executive director for Thinkability, and you are located in Duncan, America, right?
Our main office is in Duncan, but we have supports in Ardmore and Norman.
Okay. And you and I met, I think, and this is what I remember. I remember us meeting when I became part of the DD Council, the Developmental
hmm
Disability Council.
hmm
So I got to meet you. Is that kind of your
I
recollection?
couldn't remember if it was the DD Council or if it was the at a graduate academy for the
That
partners in policymaking, but
yeah,
either one is probably around the same time.
yeah. So, I, you are, for those of you who don't know, Robin is kind of a big deal in advocacy in
Oh,
Oklahoma as far as group homes go, and we'll kind of get into that here in just a little bit. You're one of the leading forces when it comes to what would you say, policy on group homes and in the state for sure.
thank you. I originally became involved with the council and all because my husband and I are specialized foster care providers. And we've done so since 1992. And we still have, he's lived with us for 20 some years now, a young man with severe autism, and we needed help with the schools. So that's how I met Ann Trudgeon, and she introduced me to Kayla Bauer at the Oklahoma Disability Law Center, and they had just started what they called at the time a PPOD class, um, Partners in Education Advocacy. And so they invited me to join that class, and that's how really was through my experiences as parenting through specialized foster care that I got involved and so strong in advocacy. And where I really learned my skills was with the Oklahoma Disability Law Center and the council and my involvement there, which of course spilled over into my job. Um, and gosh, we've been foster parents since '92, and I started my job here at Thinkability in 1990. This is my 30-year anniversary. I can't believe it's that long.
So you've
But
been in almost as long as Anne has been.
31 for Ann, yeah. And actually, all of my jobs outside of I was a um, cashier for Western Sizzlin in Ardmore my senior year in high school. And then I moved to um, Oklahoma City, South Oklahoma City, to go to school and worked weekends at group homes, um, aid for individual development. And then I worked at a workshop, the Work Activity Center and more. And then they opened Meadowbrook Acres, a group of parents opened Meadowbrook Acres in South Oklahoma City and invited me to apply for house manager. So I lived in the group home. At the time, it followed the old house manager scheduling where I lived in a little apartment in the group home. They built them as group homes and had efficiency apartments for managers. And I came in Sunday afternoon at 3, and I was there until Friday afternoon at 3. That was my shift. I worked all week. I was off during the day while the individuals went to school or work, and that's when I went to school. Um, so, and that's how I met my husband. I was the women's house manager. My husband was the men's house manager, just right next door. So we met in group homes and decided that we would do specialized foster care because of our experiences with adults. We wanted to be more involved with younger people with disabilities, and boy, they gave us a lesson. Those experiences as parenting, um, we went into it thinking that we were going to do it right. We were going to do it, raise people with disabilities different, and boy, we learned our lesson, and that's my respect for parents with disabilities, for of kids with disabilities, and it's just amazing the things that parents go through um, with kids with special needs, for the schools, for considering, you know, future and life after school, and how it's daunting. I mean, it's amazing, and that's where all of my lessons came from, was those experiences as a parent, and still do today. We still have John Paul, who lives with us, and Dustin still lives with us. John Paul moved in with us when he was 9 or 11, sixth grade. I don't know how old a sixth grader is anymore. And he's now 32. And Dustin moved in with us when he was 6, and he's now 31. So
Well, so
those
you talk about,
experiences come
yeah, and you learn. I say this all the time. You learn something every day. I
every day.
learn
Mm-hmm.
more from them than they do from me, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about life after school. I'm really wanting to get into this here in a minute because you have such a great grasp on that life after school, and I want to get into that. But before we do, let's talk about how, and you kind of went into this already, but tell me a little bit about your story. How did you get involved? I know you've already kind of told me a little bit of that, but what's your background?
I have a younger brother with mild cerebral palsy and a mild intellectual disability. Um, and he went, my family always, or had a tutor for him all through school. And she believed that you needed to learn to crawl before you walk, and that you had to hit the developmental stages in order to progress. So she spent time on the floor making him crawl and walk. And I went along and sat on the sofa and watched her um, tutor and teach my little brother, have him how to hold a pencil, and they'd spend hours and days just trying to hold a pencil, and she had her way to hold a pencil, and that's how he was going to do it. So those experiences with my younger brother made me want to be a special ed teacher. And then I started working in group homes, and I learned about occupational therapy, and um, wanted set my sights on being an occupational therapist. Well, life had other plans for me, and I was living in Norman, and married and had a young son. And the director of Duncan Group Homes called and invited me to interview for the director position. My younger brother lived at Duncan Group Homes, and I would come home from Norman on holidays or weekends. I would swing through Duncan and pick up my younger brother and stay and visit, and help him clean his room, and do laundry. And then we'd go on to my family home in Ardmore. So I spent a lot of time when he lived in the group homes. Anyway, she invited me to apply and train under her, um, and then eventually took her place as executive director. So I'm a sibling. Um, I have the experiences as parenting through specialized foster care, and then a provider many years. All of my vocation, with, like I said, with a little bit of time as cashier, has been in the field.
Yeah. So let's jump into some of the things. I'm going to tell a little story here, at least my part. We've been looking at transition services in our area. Where we live here in Poto is limited, which it is in a lot of areas in the state. We all know that, and we're working on that. But it's just kind of a long a long journey.
It
Um,
is.
but one of the things that we looked at is we wanted to do something as far as jobs. There's not very many jobs in this area for people with disabilities, after high school. And so we started a social group, and we're working with social skills and
Mhm.
job skills and things like that. But one of the things we looked at is we've got a board member who does screen printing and
Oh, yeah.
that. And so she wanted to really kind of look into maybe starting a screen printing business. And you had told me that Thinkability had
Mm.
the screen printing business. And so we we started talking, and we set up to come in. This was early last year, I think, wasn't it? Or was it?
It
It was
was,
right,
yeah.
oh, I know what it
Uh,
was. It was right before at right before they everything shut down, because I remember you and I talking about whether or not
Okay.
we should shake hands
Okay,
and stuff.
that's right. So it
And
was February, March, yeah.
somewhere in there, yeah. And
Mhm.
so we brought some people to Duncan, and
Mhm.
we toured. Well, little did I know. I mean, we were just looking at the screen printing, and Robin says, "Do you want to see some more?" And I said, "Well, sure." And so then you go into the microgreens. I'm going to
Mhm.
give you a chance to kind of, and then we went in. She said, "Well, do you want to go next door and look at this?" And so we go next door, and then we go next door, and then we go next door. We keep going next door, and I kept thinking, this is great. You had something, for everything. But I know it's taken time to do that. But that's one of the things we've been looking at. But it was such a good experience for me to see all of
Good.
the great things that you guys are doing, to the point that I brought it back, and a couple more board members said, "I want to go tour too. So as soon as we get a chance, we may be coming back to Duncan if it's okay with you." But
Yeah, anytime, anytime.
I know we got to wait on some of these restrictions
Well,
and stuff. But anyways, tell a little bit about what Thinkability does. And you guys have so many aspects that I had no idea about. But you've got a great thing going on, and I would love to see that kind of come to this area. So
we there was Power Shop was the vocational provider in Duncan, started in 1980. And Duncan Group Homes was the residential provider, had 3 group homes, started in 1982. Why the two didn't form together in the 80s, I have no idea. Duncan Group Homes started with Dawn and I Foundation after she toured the state schools. She wanted to help people move into the community, and she had matching grants. So that's how this agency started. Um, Everybody who lived at Duncan Group Homes went to work at Power Shop. Eventually, as economy, yada, yada, Power Shop did real well. We have jobs. We place people at Halliburton. Um, but they've slowly reduced the hours. They were working 5 days a week, and they now work only 2 days a week, 6 hours a day, we hope. Um, anyway, Power Shop, we both agencies financially needed a boost, and the Power Shop approached us about a merger, and we agreed. So we were able to join forces. And at the time, the Power Shop had Power Print, which is the t-shirt screen printing shop that you talk about. We do more than t-shirts. We just call it a t-shirt shop. We do vinyl signs and banners, and we can order all your promotional products, pins and cups and mugs, and we do vinyl printing. We have another machine, sublimation, that you can send us a picture and we can put it on a cell phone cover, or um, a mouse pad, or anything that you want. So we have a lot of options through Power Print. Well, after the merger, we really felt moved to explore other vocational options. And as you said, it's difficult to place people in community jobs. In Duncan Group Homes, people would hear our name, and after we merged, Duncan Group Homes was the surviving entity. The Power Shop dissolved. So um, we changed our name to Thinkability, and started exploring other vocational options. They weren't necessarily available in our community, so we thought we needed to be creative and with the entrepreneurial spirit, open other vocational options. So we kind of looked around our community, and we didn't want to compete with anybody, and we wanted to fill space. The idea of a community garden came up, and we thought, well, that'd be fun, and we just jumped on it. We already had the green space where we could fill the garden. Um, we we did a grant with the Noble Foundation in Ardmore, and they said, we're not going to give you any money, but here's this man, and he's got all this knowledge, and I wish I knew who remembered his name, and I would give him all the kudos, because he came to Duncan and visited with us, and we went there, and he showed us all the options. I learned the difference between a hoop house and a greenhouse, and all about above the ground beds, and learned so much from him. Water catchment systems. He designed our community garden, and connected us with a professor at OSU who designed our water catchment system, because our community garden is between two buildings, and we catch rainwater runoff from both buildings, and it goes back into a 500-gallon tub or bigger, I don't know. Um, and that's where we get our water too for the community garden. So the community garden has really filled a need in Duncan, because we produce vegetables um, and herbs and some flowers, but we concentrated more on the need for fresh vegetables. And the we didn't at the time. They were trying to start a farmer's market in Duncan, and they came to us and said, hey, do you want to partner? And we did. It'd be perfect. We've got a parking lot. So we joined with the Duncan Farmers Market, and the next year they said, why don't you just take it over? And they dissolved and gave us a little bit of money that was in their account. And so it's really Thinkability's Farmers Market that we host now. Um, but it has really brought the community to us, and that has created such an awareness in the community. People are interested in tours all the time, and just want to know more about us, and they support the idea of a farmer's market. And um, we hired a gal that has great experience in landscaping, and she's a horticulturist, and knows all about plants, and helps me with what should go in my flower bed or my raised bed. It's just been the perfect solution. It solved so many problems. It provides jobs, and the individuals who work there absolutely love it. And it brings the community to us. And create some awareness, and then we're providing vegetables and herbs, good food to our community. So it's a great deal, if I should say so myself. It's a pretty good idea.
No, I think it's wonderful. And then and that's not, so you're also talking about the microgreens, which you have contracts with
Hmm.
local restaurants to provide
Yeah,
those.
I
Tell,
was
go ahead,
go
sorry.
ahead. Talking about the microgreens, we do grow there's a difference in sprouts and microgreens, and I had no idea. And I posted on Facebook that we were growing microgreens and sprouts, and that all these 3 restaurants at the time that we had a contract with to provide their microgreens and sprouts. And they also buy herbs from us, and whatever's fresh and available that day. Um, After I posted it on Facebook, the Department of Agriculture visited us, and um, wanted to know more about our microgreens and sprouts. So we showed them the setup, and evidently, and I could have it reversed. But for a microgreen, you have to have all this special training and a special setup, and you can only get this training off somewhere for 6 days. And um, the other one, the difference in a microgreen and sprout is one leaf. So once it sprouts a third leaf, then it's a sprout and no longer a microgreen, and you can sell it to anybody. So we've learned all kinds of things about it. But the microgreens or sprouts, I think that we're supposed to call them sprouts and wait for the third leaf. Um, we still do that, and individuals buy them from us. Um, 2 or 3 restaurants buy them from us, and like I said, we also provide mint and basil and other things to different restaurants in town.
That's cool. And then tell a little bit about the next thing over is the store, right?
From the community garden, we had what we originally thought was we would refinish furniture. So it would provide jobs to individuals who could sand and refinish furniture and learn a new skill, and we would sell it in our furniture store. Well, we started um, we just had the farmers market one day a week. So the other 5 or 6 days a week, we would sell the leftover produce in our store. So the front of the store developed into a market. So we bought some. We looked around again in our community, and there wasn't anywhere where you can buy Amish products. So we partnered with the Amish community and a wholesaler, and we provide Amish products, butter, noodles, uh, soup base, some summer sausage, smoked summer sausage, some cheeses, and then there's a yogurt supplier from what oh, I don't remember the name. It's an interest anyway. The everything that we provide in the store is from Oklahoma. So there's yogurt that we buy from a supplier. They drive it to our house in Norman, and we go to Norman, so they don't have to drive the whole way. And then we have bread mixes that you just use beer, a bottle of beer, and pour it into the bread mix, and let it rise, and that's your beer bread, and all kinds of things. We buy extra produce from local farms, and then from our farmers market. When they come, we'll buy their extra produce so that we have produce through the week in our market now. And we changed. It was the furniture store, and now it's changed to just the market because it's so popular. In addition to I don't think I said, in our community garden, we have raised beds that people in the community lease a bed space. And there's 2 options for, I think it's $45 a season. They come in and tend their space, and we provide everything you would need: the water, the soil, we have a big compost pile in back, the tools, even some seeds. Ace Hardware, at the end of the season, they donate all their seeds to us. Um, or for $65 a season, we'll tend it for you. And we just call you up and say, hey, you've got tomatoes, or hey, you need to swing by and pick up some cucumbers. And you just tell us what you want grown, and we'll grow it and call you and tell you when it's ready. So then we have 2 hoop houses, and then 2 spaces, 2 properties that we own that are big acreages, and we have 2 spaces there that we have gardens where we're growing a pumpkin patch right now, but we grew okra and tomatoes and peppers and different things, squash this last season. We're winding down on the season, so It's mums and pumpkins, but we're looking for grants all the times too, because we'd love to have some greenhouses. And we would put them on in those properties that have the extra space. We kind of followed in Bow, Broken Arrow. I get the two confused. Up by Tulsa
Broken Arrow,
is
yeah.
Broken Arrow. Um, there's a program called A New Leaf, and we visited them, and they do much the same thing. They have hoop houses and greenhouses, and they're huge and very popular in the area. So that's who we went and visited. We are both DD providers, and we're kind of copying from A New Leaf. So I need to give them credit too.
And then next to that, we have the day center, right?
We have an adult day center that um, for the people that we serve who are aging, that vocational isn't necessarily appropriate anymore. We provide adult day um, activities in a day center. And then we have residential services. We have homes in Ardmore, one in Norman, and we have 17 in Duncan. So, and including um, an apartment complex that's our assisted living center.
I'm just amazed at the things that you've done. Again, we went in just to look at the print shop, and you just kept saying, "Do you want to see the next? Do you want to see the next?" And I kept thinking, how much do you have here? But
Yeah.
it's amazing. So time span. How long has you started with the group homes to now? How long has that been?
Oh gosh, for I've been here 30 years, but the real growth started, well, we had when we merged with the power shop, we had I think 9 properties and or 9 residential centers and or facilities. And then we merged, may have been more because now we have 17. It's just all a blur. It just happened so fast, but it's not. It's really a team of people who share the vision, who have the passion. From your HR person to all of our direct support people, our maintenance men, the administrative support. Um, it's just amazing how strong our board of directors, if when everybody shares the vision, everybody has the same passion and comes to work with intentional um, set on creating opportunities for people with intellectual disabilities. I mean, that's what we do, and every day we want to create opportunities, and that might be in someone's home for them to be involved in cooking their meal or preparing a shopping list. Everything that if we're doing something for the individual, then we need to rethink it, and we do everything with the individual rather than for. We're not caretakers. Um, we're support people who really are here to just create opportunities.
I think what you just said is great. We're not caretakers. We are
Hmm.
support, and that's. I think some people forget that there's a difference between that, and that's. I think that's great.
And we constantly teach that they are not involved in our lives, we are involved in theirs. And it's not what I want to do that day. I come to work and there's a rodeo that I want to go to, and if the individual I'm working with doesn't want to go, then we're not going to the rodeo. We're doing whatever the individual wants. We're there uh, to do everything with the individual, not for.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about you. You are a partners grad, so we talk about
Oh,
partners all the time on here,
mhm.
because a lot of the people that we work with, and you know this, are partners grads. It's such a great program. What year did you go through, if you don't mind
Oh, don't
sharing?
ask me. Um, I don't remember. I used to
You,
keep a.
you were early though.
I was way early, and I was fortunate enough that I went through partners, and then the individuals in uh, thinkability wanted to go as self advocates. And so I was fortunate enough to get to go with them as their support person. And so I went like for 6 or 8 years to partners. So it was good. It was a great experience because I just kept getting it pounded into me, all of the positive things and all of the wonderful speakers and opportunities that they provide. I got to go year after year. So as support staff. So
With that, who have been some of your mentors over the years that have helped you with all aspects of the advocacy?
oh, Kayla Bauer with the Oklahoma Disability Law Center was amazing. And the Peapod group that I was in, and the staff, Janice Morris, Roseanne Duplon, and um, Joy Turner. Um, that group, Melissa Sublett, they all were so helpful to me and so patient with me and really helped us along. And as I said, the experiences as a parent through specialized foster care um, are what has made me a good provider, um, because I always keep that family perspective that it's not about the provider and um, so all of the people from the Oklahoma Disability Law Center, of course, Anne and all the speakers from partners. I love Al Condalucci and Patrick and what's the gal's name that comes in Disability is Natural. Um,
Katie Snow, Kath,
yeah, yeah, she was awesome. Um, and and the other things like the follow the money, that was most helpful to me with in my job. And I don't remember who taught that, but that was a great experience. And even the guardianship and the options and choices outside of full guardian, that allow the person to still have control over their own life. Gosh, I could go on and on. And then um, the leadership in um, the developmental disabilities division. Um, just the Oklahomans in this field, I think you'll find are all willing to share what they know, um, and all share the same passion to support people with intellectual disabilities. So could go on who influenced my life.
yeah, what
So,
you've said is exactly what I say all the time. We are such a great network together. I
mhm,
can call you and anytime and get advice, or Anne, or you talked about Kayla Bauer. I've talked about her on a couple of others. I
mhm,
wish I could have gotten an interview with her. She was
yeah,
an amazing woman. I mean, the things that,
mhm,
and I met her at a conference, and I just went up to her booth. She happened to be working the booth at the ODLC, and it was just like, sit down. She had a seat sitting there. She said,
mhm.
sit down. Let's talk. And she talked to me. I missed. I think I missed a keynote speaker or something the first time, and she kept sitting there going, no, no, you got to do this, and you got to, and we just talked, and I learned so much more than I probably would have from the keynote anyways. So
Mhm,
it was
mhm,
amazing.
mhm. But Kayla Bowers, she was amazing. And she had a way of telling things that it would just stick in your mind, and I could just listen to her forever, because for every topic that she was teaching, she had two or three true experiences to share, which is a great way to learn. And she was amazing. She was wonderful. We, as I said, with Dustin, who has severe autism, and um, it's nonverbal and seizure disorder, and all those fun things happening. Um, we had an issue with the school, and we ended up mediating. And Kayla and Joy came down, and our mediation started at like 8 a.m. and ended just after 7 p.m. It went all day long. Um, but it was such an amazing lesson for teachers and the school. It was middle school age, and it was, at the time I thought it was just a horrible experience, and I couldn't sleep at night, and I worried and fretted, and were we doing this with the right thing? And in the long run, even today, people who were involved in that experience is even still with the school. Kayla left such a memorable impression that it's it was a good thing.
So tell me, advice. I mean, what's maybe the best piece of advice you've ever received, and what do you kind of try to pass on to other people?
I think just do what's right. Listen to the individual, and even when someone is nonverbal, like Dustin, we laugh because he has been home all this time since March. He quit going to the day center, that Thinkability's day center, because we're afraid of him getting the virus and what might happen to him. So he stays home a lot, and he'll get up and he'll go to the front door. And we always keep it locked because he'll open the door. But he'll go to the front door and start twisting the doorknob. And we just take that as communication. He's like, I'm ready to get out of the house. So we'll unlock the door, and he'll open the doorknob, and he'll walk out on the porch, and sometimes he'll turn and he'll go stand at the truck and just stand at the door waiting for turn around and look and wait for somebody to open it. So he's saying, I want to go somewhere. Sometimes he'll turn and just go sit on the swing and just sit outside, but he's communicating that he wanted a change in his environment, or that we always think when he goes to the truck that he wants to go get a Brahms um, shake. So, and we'll go, and he sits and waits at the window, and the people at Brahms know him and pass it through, and he reaches for it, and so he communicates. Everything is communication, and it's our job to open our eyes, open our ears, open our minds, and shut our mouth, and learn and listen. And um, John Paul, I believe that it's common that, and I read somewhere that there's a 7-second delay. And when we present John Paul with a question or a choice, that we need to give him at least 7 seconds to think about it. And if we teach this all the time. I ask, do you want this or that? And if I'm not patient enough to wait for the answer and I ask again, then I'm just resetting that 7 seconds. So we teach all the time to offer and then wait, give time, let people answer, and then to listen to the families, because they are the people who know the individual best, and listen to what experiences they have had, and that can help us as their provider in their as they transition from their family home into their own home with roommates. We learn a lot from families. So it's our job to listen.
Several things you said there are things that we, when we do our trainings with either families or educators or whatever, we talk about the same thing. Behaviors, communication.
Hmm.
If they're doing something, they're trying to tell you something, and it's up to us um, to figure out what it is. And I say sometimes you have to be like Columbo to figure that out, but
That's right.
but the biggest problem, and I said, and I always say this, about 90% of issues with communication with people with developmental
Hmm.
disabilities is on our end and not theirs. We
Hmm.
fail to try to listen or try to communicate because they're trying to communicate, and
Hmm.
we fail. But the other part of that you talked about was to give them time. When we talk about
Hmm.
people on the spectrum, I had a speech therapist that said count to 15, not 15 seconds, but count to 15. And
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
15 seconds, if it doesn't look like things are starting, to click, then we can retalk. But and that's the hard part for me, especially as a dad. And I always say this, and people that have been through my training know this. As a dad, my dad was former military, and it was you do what you're told when you're told, and if you delay, that's
That's right.
disrespectful. And I had to rethink my entire, parenting, because with Connor that doesn't work. You have to give him time, and so you kind of just justified some of the things that we do in our training. But I agree with you completely. Communication.
Hmm.
Oh, and verbal is not always the only type of
Hmm.
communication. And I have to tell parents, especially what we call newly diagnosed parents, you may want them to talk, but that's not the only form of communication. We have
Hmm.
many ways of doing that. So, um, anyways, yeah, I agree with
And
everything.
with John Paul, when he's offered an option, he needs to know, if I choose this, then what's the consequence, And we don't always teach consequences, or we protect people from consequences. And I think that's a disservice, that people we support need to learn consequences. So we always present John Paul with, do you want to go? Oh, he wants to stay up late and watch wrestling, or he loves CSI. He sits in front of the while CSI is on, and he takes notes, and he's gonna a little detective. But if you want to stay up late, but you leave for work at 7, um, you're only going to get 6 hours of sleep. And then you get in trouble at work if you're sleepy, and just talk him through making the decision. And there are times that he chooses to stay up late, and we let him, okay, the consequence to that is you might fall asleep at work, and they're going to have issue, he'll get in trouble at work. So, and then I remind him when he gets home, we talked about it. If you stay up late, you're going to be sleepy. So we really try to teach consequences of what those decisions are. And within reason. I mean, I wouldn't let him cross Highway 81, and me saying the whole time, you might get hit. Just cross when the light is red. It's okay. Make a decision. But so we create those experiences and let people have consequences of their own decisions. But that's how we all learned through growing up. Is if we had a bad consequences, it was like, I'm not doing that again. Or if it was good, it's like, all right, I figured it out. We'll repeat that. So I think when we're support staff, and we're kind of coaches through people's lives, and let them make choices, even if it's not the choice that we would make. Let them make that choice, and let them experience the consequences, and learn from the consequences just like we did. I think everybody learns best through experience, and some of those experiences or aren't always pleasant, but we learn the more from those unpleasant experiences, I think, than we do the the fun ones.
Yeah, I've said several times that I want my son to fail, and people think that may sound a
Hmm.
little silly, but I do. I want my son to fail because I failed. I mean,
Hmm.
how many times have we failed at certain things? But that's how we learn, and I completely agree. Robin, I am
Hmm.
appreciative. That's really all I've got. I'm so glad that you and I have crossed paths at some point, and
Okay.
that that you're one of my friends, one of my actually you're turning into a mentor because
Oh,
I'm
thank you.
I'm learning from you a lot of different things, and I hope to continue to do that. When all this stuff clears up, I'll be back in Duncan because we really want to take your model and kind of try to use it here if we can. And but anyways, thank you so much
Well,
for.
we look forward to your visit, and actually, my family, we every year we try to go to Beaver's Bend. We get a cabin and tool around there. And my husband, every year we have to go to the what are the ruins. The
Oh, he
what
the
is it?
stone, yeah.
Yeah, Runestone. That's
Yeah,
where we go every year.
yeah.
And we trek down that trail and back up again. Dustin and everybody goes with us, and might take us forever because we have to sit a spell after Dustin's.
Yeah,
They're steep stairs,
yeah, they are.
um, but it's a good little hike. And we're going the first weekend in November. We skipped it last year and didn't get to go, and we decided we're going to go ahead and go this year. So
Oh, that's a good time to come through the mountains too. And
it is.
yeah,
Hmm.
Palomino Drive is pretty
Yeah.
then. Well, if
And
you
we'll
come,
drive up to the top of the hill.
oh, Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for those of you who
Uh,
don't know, the world's highest hill is here in Poto. I can look out my window and see it out the front. It's nice. So,
we will make it to the top in that there's nothing up there but a picnic table and
and a
a
big rock.
sign. Yeah.
Well, when
And
you're
we'll
in
drive.
town,
It's
look me up. Call me if you want, and maybe
sure.
we'll do lunch or something. Yeah.
Meet at the top of the hill.
Sure. We can do that. Yeah. Okay.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate you and everything you do.
No problem. Thank you.
Bye.